And hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Broadband Universe podcast. Craig Corbin here, and so glad to have you with us for this episode. Pleased to have the CEO of My Bundle TV, Jason Cohen, with us. Jason, welcome.
Thank you, Craig. Great to be here.
Our topic, yeah, absolutely. The topic for the day, cord cutting. Yeah, the trend is phenomenal. Estimates are that by the end of this year, more than 55 million Americans will have cut the cord, no longer paying for traditional paid television services. Streaming is the thing, a world of opportunity and choices out there. How do we all make the selection for what's out there? And that is something that MyBundle.tv is doing a phenomenal job of. And for those who are unfamiliar with MyBundle.tv, how did the concept come into being?
Sure. Yeah, no, a lot to dive in here. The brief, the history is, before starting this, I was in the financial investing world, researching and investing in the media and telecom industries. And as it became clearer and clearer that this big, I call the streaming revolution, was happening, the one thing that kind of always stuck at me as I was doing that research and investing was, man, this is complicated, right? It's complicated to figure out how to cut the cord, what streaming services to use. And so as I would sit there, I'd say, hey, you know what? Somebody really needs to bring the technology that helped travel, that helped retail, and bring this online, bring it all together. And eventually I said, why not me? Why not us? And so I started My Bundle with my brother, Danny, who's the tech whiz of it all. And we basically embarked on our mission really is to make streaming simpler. And by making streaming simpler, we really think about it in three main stakeholders, which is the consumer,
right,
broadband providers, and streaming services. And so the last bit there is that research that we were doing, it wasn't just about streaming, but it was this exciting age of broadband build-outs that was about to happen, that was starting to happen. And we could get into it a little bit more later, but they're related, right? They're directly related. And My Bundle is here to try to simplify it for everybody.
Well, when you talk about simplifying the process, I can identify because when I began exploring the options that were out there to get away from the traditional delivery of content to all that was available, it took a lot of time, a lot of effort, and I know there's so much frustration on the part of consumers everywhere. And just looking at your website, some of the responses that you have from very pleased consumers at the benefit that you have brought to them is phenomenal. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I think if we separate, our consumer facing solutions into two buckets, because there's a lot of pain points when it comes to video. So if you take number one, your traditional cable or satellite TV subscriber, they still want the content that they're used to, right? They still might want ESPN or a History Channel or the big broadcasters. Most people don't know where to start, don't even know that you can get that same content through streaming. And so our first tool, which is our Find My Bundle tool, tries to could be days of research to figure out what live TV streaming services are out there, and then a spreadsheet, making channel lists and comparing and so we say, hey, why can't we just build an algorithm that makes personalized recommendations for each person who's looking to save money because they're not watching 100 channels. Maybe they're watching 5, 10, 15. And so that Find My Bundle tool helps people, we call shave the cord, right? Go from a traditional set-top box system to a virtual MVPD, like a Hulu Live, Sling, Fubo, Philo, Friendly, YouTube TV, etc. That's one group. And then the second group is everybody, right? Everybody who streams anything deals with three main pain points, which is, I want to find a show. Where can I watch it, right? Number two is I've got all these streaming services already, and I can hardly find something new to watch. It's kind of that analysis paralysis, and you go
right,
app by app by app, right? And then the third one is really around aggregation of the actual billing, right? And so I might want to sign up for another app, but another $2.99 charge or another $4.99. I got to keep track of it and all that. And so when we think about helping people transition from traditional pay TV to streaming their live TV, but also helping all cord cutters, cord nevers, even cable subs, right, navigate the streaming world in a much more simple way.
Absolutely. Broadband Universe brought to you, as always, by Vitruvi, the end-to-end GIS-based construction management platform. Build faster, reduce costs, and improve quality. Also by Lit Communities. Light up your community. You deserve better internet. So, Jason, when we talk about being able to wade through all that is out there, it's a daunting process for those who want to make a change. But the numbers are trending in a way that traditional cable television delivery will continue on its current path. The move towards streaming will continue its path, and so the importance of what you're doing will only grow. But you talked about the other components, not just the consumers, but interacting with the streaming providers and then also the broadband providers. Talk about that synergy.
Yeah, I think the broadband providers, and you mentioned Lit Communities, they're a partner of ours. They're doing a great job, right? One of many, but bringing broadband to people who don't have it, or bringing competition really to people who don't have it. And that's something that was not part of our initial plan, right? When we started the company, the idea would be it would be a direct-to-consumer offering. We'd help people figure out streaming, and yeah, we might tell them about a new internet provider in town. But what we realized, and this was frankly a complete shock to me, was that just as much as consumers are looking to get out of the traditional video game, the actual broadband and cable world, for the most part, is looking to get out of the traditional video game. Not true all across the board, but what I mean by that is even at some traditional cable companies, they're upside down on their costs, right? It's expensive to run that, and the costs of media keep going up and up and up as more people cut the cord. And so what we found is there were cable companies who come to us and say, hey, we like your tools, can we use them? And then, of course, you have these new fiber-to-the-home private equity-backed companies that are sprouting up everywhere, right? And there's electric co-ops that are coming to the game, getting into broadband for the first time, rural telephone companies, publicly traded cable and telcos. And so when you put it all together, what we're really seeing is these are broadband-first companies. There's an opportunity to bring fiber to places that never had it before, even wireless. So it's not just the fiber. You know, we're talking about high-speed internet, many different ways to deliver it. And ultimately, if there was no My Bundle, these new providers are going after 40% of the market you mentioned before, right? Those consumers that have already moved beyond traditional TV, they see an ad for $50 for a gig. Great, that's all I need. But what we say is, what about the 60% of the market that still thinks they need traditional TV? So what they say is, what do I do about TV? And that's where our My Bundle broadband partnerships come in. We co-brand all of our tools for the broadband providers, which allows them to introduce on their websites with their CSR and sales agents in marketing material to help unlock the other part of the market that if they didn't have a video service, they were sort of saying, you know what, we're not underwriting that. And so there's an opportunity here when you're bringing fiber down the street. Instead of only having a shot on goal with 4 out of 10 households, now you have a shot on goal with 8 out of 10 households, really. Because we do say there's about, maybe 20 to 25% of the traditional TV households, I call them my cold dead hands. Right. You're going to take this set-top box and remote out of my cold dead hands, right?
Right.
And we're thinking about that also from a video migration standpoint. But the bottom line is what we found is there's, a couple thousand internet providers across the country, new ones that have been around for 100 years, and it doesn't make sense for them to try to do this on their own because it's not their specialty, and they should focus on broadband customer service. We believe we can be that software, that platform, that video streaming platform to take that headache off of their hands.
We are entering what I've referred to as sort of the golden age, if you will, of the expansion of connectivity to America. There are so many who don't have the proper connectivity, and so to your point, there are many different vertical markets within the provider space that are going to play a huge role in making a difference going forward. And that's why I'm really intrigued with what My Bundle brings to the table to be able to maximize the opportunity from all sides of the approach. And so I'm curious, if I am a consumer and I am looking to begin the process, what is my experience when I go to mybundle.tv?
Well, if you're coming directly to us, you have the opportunity, right, to jump right into that Find My Bundle tool. So if you're coming to people come to us for many different reasons. So it's a little bit of the challenge as we lay out our homepage, right? So, but when we say, okay, you're coming to cut the cord, boom, right here. If you're a cord cutter, cord never already, and you're looking to create a free profile so that you can add your apps and you could search or browse across your apps, you can do that. You could use a TV recommendation tool where you can actually, we'll recommend some shows. You could send that list to your friends and get them to vote on it, right? Thumbs up, thumbs down, recommend shows back to you. So we're constantly evolving, right? That. When you think about from the broadband partner side, those broadband partners are introducing the same tools in that co-branded fashion on their own websites. And so there's this almost like dual approach where we hope that if you live in an area with one of our 85 and growing broadband partners, they're the ones who are going to be telling you, hey, did you know that you can get rid of Comcast or you can get rid of Spectrum and you can come to us for internet? And here, let us help you figure out this whole TV thing because, yeah, we know it's complicated. So we partner with My Bundle to help you out. And so that element is really how the two ways that we sort of kind of go to market or help consumers get to them.
You're pushing 100 providers now that have seen the benefit of being involved in what you're doing. You've only been at this for a very short period of time. That's phenomenal growth. Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I say it's and I'll say this in a good way. It's easy to grow when you charge very little. Right, and so I say that hopefully some of the listeners are broadband providers. I mean, we very much are focused on we have a very low monthly fee for the broadband providers to use our. Sometimes people blink and shake their head. They're like, I don't understand. That's what? That's how much?
Right.
And so and we do that on purpose because we view that this is really only stage one of building something really special. Mm-hmm. Just to touch on the streaming service side, because we're also building this platform to help consumers, right, and streaming services simplify. So we want to help streaming services find new customers, but we also want to help them retain those customers. We want to be involved in promoting the content relative to the consumer in those services so that they stay around longer, right? We also want to help with aggregation. So when I mentioned before billing aggregation, what that means, and we're excited, hopefully in the next few weeks, we're going to launch live with our first streaming service partner. Awesome. And the idea is My Bundle is going to be doing the billing, right? And after that first one, we hope to be a second one and a third one. And we're in obviously conversations with a whole bunch, and we're really excited. And what that allows us to do is to help solve a consumer's problem, help solve the streaming services problem. And with the broadband providers, now we're giving them this solution with, again, no invested capital, no headaches. Oh, and off the bill, right? Because it's the My Bundle bill. We're bringing you this My Bundle solution to help you simplify all of this. And so we do that again on behalf of the broadband. Now the broadband provider is offering this free tool to their customer to help them figure out content, discover, manage, create your watch lists, aggregate that content. We've got a free streaming service that's coming as well within this platform. And so we're constantly thinking, how can we create these win-win-wins? And again, at a very low upfront price, it's a pretty, I'm not going to say it's an easy sell because this is something brand new. So I'm not selling a better widget than what somebody else was selling. I'm trying to explain to people, hey, this is how we can help you. And oh, by the way, as a little bit of gravy on top, the revenue that we generate from streaming services, we share back to the broadband provider.
Nice.
Right? And so there's an opportunity here that not only are we value proposition number one, helping broadband providers win new broadband customers. But as the broadband partners grow and their current customer base starts to utilize the tools, there's an opportunity for that revenue kicker as well from the streaming that they're doing.
It's phenomenal. One of the themes that you have is we make streaming TV easy, and it's obvious that you are streamlining the process, and that is so attractive. I know in this day and age, with all of the things that we've dealt with over the last 2 years, the dependence on connectivity, being able to find new ways to find your entertainment choices online. This is a very important component in what is transitioning. I always am curious about asking guests if you could go back in time and tweak anything within the process of what you've done, what that would be, or the crystal ball, looking down the line as to where you see this evolving.
Yeah, well, okay, I think I'll start on the future, just because that's, I guess that's, it's easier to say what's, or not easier, but a little bit of a guess what's ahead of us. No, I think we're constantly thinking, our North Star is making this simpler, and how can we create these win-wins? So what else can we do to provide value to broadband providers, streaming services, and consumers? So we think about, again, this fast that we're doing, streaming rewards. Just give you an example. That's something that's in the works, or we're launching with our first partners right now. Hey, if you're a broadband provider, wouldn't you like to offer a free streaming service to customers? Like, you're willing to pay for it, you're willing to spend the market. How do you do that? How do you execute that? We built it, right? And so what we think about the future is, what can we do that every one of our partners, it doesn't make sense, or they can't do themselves, but if they were sitting in a room with their executive team and said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we could do A, B, C, D, and F? That's what my bundle's role is. So, recently, yesterday, I guess, Comcast and Charter announced, right, they're going to do this JV with the Flexbox and the X, and they can, and you know what? It makes sense for them to have that big solution. But many, many, many broadband providers out there are competing with them. And so what we aim, our crystal ball is, over the next few years, is to continue building out our platform, building out the technology so that it's on par with what the largest broadband companies can provide, and make that available to our network of, while we're nearing 100, we hope thousands of internet providers in the hopefully not too distant future.
It's an endless market, and when you look at numbers like 6 out of 10 people who don't have paid television services, traditional, have never subscribed to it. The demographics, the younger the consumer, the likelihood that they've never subscribed to services, and that will only grow in importance as we move forward. And given the fact that there are more and more programming content providers that are moving to the streaming approach, and so it seems as though you're in a wonderful position to make some very positive impact on the world of communication and going forward. I'm always curious about what kind of responses you get at trade shows. I know you and I were both at the big Tech Advantage show hosted by NRECA in Nashville earlier this year. What kind of feedback did you get from the folks that you saw there at Tech Advantage?
Yeah, I think it's interesting, right? You go to these conferences and you see the big names who everybody knows with the big booths, and it's sort of easier, right? Because if you're in the broadband business, and these are great companies, Calix, like, oh my gosh, right? Like the response that on LinkedIn you see, their clients thanking them, I assume unprompted, right? Like, thank you for your help. We aspire to, that kind of service. And so when you go to a conference, we're generally not the big booth in the front. So we're in the back, and people haven't heard of us. And so when they walk by the booth, you kind of try to catch their eye, and they do the walk by fast to pretend like they don't see you. But what happens is when they can't do it, or they can't be fast enough, and I do hey, how's your day going? And then after you get past that first 15 seconds of like, oh God, what's this guy selling me? Mm-hmm. And you quickly explain, their eyes change, and they're like, oh man, this is exactly what I needed. And so a little bit for us, a challenge, not a challenge, but a thought process is, at these conferences, how do we get our message out? And so we started to sponsor a little bit more. So we'll be at the Rural Broadband, the NTCA Sales and Marketing Conference next week in Fort Lauderdale. And we'll be at Fiber Connect, and we're going to be at, and so the idea is, as we're at these conferences, we're thinking about, a logo doesn't necessarily help, because what the heck's in my bundle? Right. I will say today versus last year, what's been great is we have more name recognition now. The word is starting to get out. We have those 85, 88 partners who are now, this is what I've learned is a very peer-based industry. Right. And so what's been great is, as our partners have been using the tools, people aren't competing with each other. So you get to these conferences, and people are talking, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Mm-hmm. And we found that that opportunity. I'll just say one last thing about the conference I find interesting is there's really never anything about video. because everything is so broadband first, and it makes sense, right? But what we want to say is, hey, how can we get the word out that you can solve your customers' video problems? There's a role to play without the headache and without the cost of you having to do it yourself. And that's really how we think about it.
Painlessly. And I do look forward to seeing you at Fiber Connect. That is, without question, the highlight of the year within the industry, and so excited about that. This edition of the Broadband Universe podcast has been brought to you by Lit Communities. Light up your community. Get the expertise and support you need to bring a high-speed fiber network to your hometown. Lit Communities, you deserve better internet. And our premier partner, Vitruvi, the end-to-end GIS-based construction platform that connects asset owners, operators, general contractors, and subcontractors for unmatched project control and collaboration. Discover how migrating to a single digital construction platform improves control, increases accountability, and lowers costs through greater project visibility, understanding, and collaboration. Build faster, reduce costs, improve quality. Book your demo today on vitruvisoftware.com. See how we can help you build at scale. And it has been a pleasure to visit with you, Jason, today, learning more about my bundle. So excited with the positive impact that you've made already and the growth that is ahead.
Greg, thank you very much. Always a lot of fun, and look forward to speaking again soon and seeing you soon. So thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you, everyone, for letting us be a part of your day. We'll see you next time right here on the Broadband Universe podcast.